So Hi, welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking into a song that I'm currently working on. I thought that it was taking shape quite nicely, so why not make some YouTube content out of it? We'll be going through pretty much everything that makes up this track, everything from the drums through to the bass design. It's not going to be hugely complicated, it's just essentially the framework and the methodology that I've used to start building out a minimal drum and bass song. Hopefully you're going to learn something new today. If you are new to the channel, please do make sure to like, comment and subscribe. It does help the channel to grow. Any specific content ideas that you've got, do let me know in the comments and I'll certainly have a look at them. Okay, let's jump into the video. So if we just listen to the first drop, just so you can hear what it sounds like. So you get the idea. So where I started with this song was actually in the sub bass. So we just listen to the sub bass on its own without the side chain. So it's just got a couple of sort of typical sine waves. And then it's got some other areas like this, where it's got kind of like little bits of wobble. You don't really hear it in the wider context of the song, but it's just adding a bit of variation. And it's just kind of like sucking in and then sucking out. So the way that I made that was in a serum patch. So the serum patch itself is very, very easy to make. So pretty simple stuff. So all we've got is two sine waves, one of them with the level all the way down, and then we're taking some FM from B. You can see here that we've got this set to a bar, and then it goes to about 50%, and then drops down again. And then other than that, everything takes place within the effects. So we've got exactly the same idea on the drive. But we've just got this set to an envelope and it opens all the way up and it just stays where it is, so you kind of get that that grunt afterwards. A tiny bit of chorus if we listen to it without, just adding a little bit, some reverb on the high end, but that's not to create the sub, that's so that we've got some more to play with when we start making some of the higher bass elements. And then we've also got this effect on an EQ where we're modulating the frequency with two separate LFOs. So we can see here we've got LFO 3 on a different rate. Oh no, they're on the same rate. What you can do is put them on different rates to LFO 4. And it's just carving out some specific parts of the sound, and then finally just a filter to cut out some of those kind of nastier high ends and also to give it a bit of drive as well. So really simple stuff, nothing too complicated happening here. What we do from here is we then we resample that. So you can essentially see here actually the process that we've been through. So we've created this bass patch, this one should be below. And then what we've done is we have resampled that into audio. And what I've done here is you can see if we open up the MIDI, let me just join all these together so it's a bit easier to see. You can see here that we've got a variety of different notes, because when we then play that, I'll then just be changing sort of the rates of these LFOs. So it's given us a nice variety of different sounds. And then what we do from here is once we've resampled it, I always like to keep my sound design as we go along. That's when we then just start adding in some pretty standard effects. So EQ to cut out all of the lows, and then adding, I'll put some reverb in here as well. And what I did, as you can see here, is I resampled it a bunch of times, added like on some of them loads of reverb. So that we've got more samples to play with. So that's essentially how we got to the bass design. What we then did in the sub bass is we added in, so this is just the first patch that we created. I found some bits of it that I liked, so you can see here that I've just chopped out, it's probably this bit for here, was it? Or no, probably this bit actually, for the kind of the main part of the song, and then when we get to this transition, that's when we change out to some different bass elements. All we've done is we've just put on an EQ to cut out all the really high frequencies. So I'm just going to turn this off. So without this. Listen to that first bit again. And obviously we've put a side chain on here as well, just because the kick was quite sub heavy. And then what we do from here really is we then just start playing around with the different effects. So if we go into the top bass, so we can hear what that sounds like. So that's just kind of the first synth element that you hear. So all we've got going on here is we've got so here we've got an EQ that's cutting out all the low frequencies. We've got a pretty high reverb. We've got some erosion to bring out those mid elements, the saturator to again enhance some of those elements, and then an auto pan that we modulate the amount on 1/8. So without any of these effects, we'll keep the low cut though, because otherwise it would just sound like the bass. Then the reverb. The erosion probably adds like the most noticeable difference, and then you just enhance that with a saturator with just a tiny bit of drive. And then finally the auto pan means that we can hear, we get that nice sort of, I don't know, like vibration effect or something. So it's just, again, it's just giving us a nice bit of variation. And then again, with some of the other elements, what I've done here is I've cut out specific parts of this sample and then put loads and loads of reverb on it, resampled it into this, cut out even more of the low end, so we've only got that kind of fizzly high end, and then, you know, added even more reverb, just to sort of, I really like that kind of stretched out sound that kind of glue all the different elements together. And you can do the same sort of effect here with the riser. And we've probably got some automation. Yeah, so we've got some automation in here, because what we don't want to do is have these two conflicting, because it's just a bit pointless. So all I've got is it at 55% while it's being played, decreasing over the space of 2 bars, and then this then increases for 1 bar. So these together so they just blend quite nicely together. And then finally, or is that it actually for the mid bass? Yeah, so I had some other bits that I was playing with. I didn't really like the sound of them, kind of like a really harsh top bass, which is exactly the same as this, but we've cut out even more of the low end, so that it's just giving it just a bit more oomph, but I didn't really like it that much. And then we've used, so for some of these other effects as well, what I did is I resampled it with just some of the standard Max for Live, is it? No. So what I've done for some of these other elements is I've just resampled it with a load of reverb, and then some of these effects that you get in the pack. So the Mince and Hack, for example, is in, I believe, Glitch and Wash under Effects Racks, distortion, or maybe modulation. Yeah, modulation, and then we just played around with a couple of these parameters. And that's really just a resample to get some different sounds. So that's it for the bass and mid-bass sound design. Drums, again, I like to keep my drums as simple as possible. I like kind of all the other elements being more interested in the drums, quite honestly. I like the drums to be nice and clean. So if you listen to these on their own, so just to run you through this quickly, so the kick is just a very, very standard kick. Not a huge amount of processing required on this because it's quite a clean sample to begin with, so just cut in 62.5 snare shuffle. So that's giving it that sort of classic drum and bass shuffle, and then just 2 snares layered over the top of that. And you can hear it's got quite a quick reverb. I've ran all of this through the same chain. So I've gone for a dry wet chain here with some reverb, and you can see here that it's really, really quiet, but without it, it really does make quite a noticeable difference. So it's not really adding a huge amount, but it's just, again, just filling out a bit of that space. And then for the hats and the perks, so we just got a nice rhythmic snare here, so it's just every second, sorry, we've got a really nice rhythmic hi-hat here, so every second beat is at a lower velocity, and then we've just added to this shuffle, so the snare shuffle, we've just mimicked that with a different hat. So it's just giving it a bit more high end, and then we've done the same again with this sort of percussive sound. So nothing too crazy, nice and simple drums. They could probably do it being cleaned up a little bit more, but I was just focusing on some other parts of this song. And then other than that, I know that we've got we've got a ride here as well that plays into it. The only thing that's different about this ride compared to my other videos is I actually reversed the offbeat ride. So that on its own. And I just thought it sounded quite cool, so I kept it like that. And that comes in on the second beat just to add a bit of variation to the drum beat. This was quite cool. So yeah, I found this really nice massive patch which is called Pipeliner, which I believe is in the Nocturnal State download pack that you just kind of get as standard. Without all the effects added to it, it sounds like this. So nothing too interesting, but then when you kind of put some saturation, reverb, auto pan, and a bit of erosion, kind of a standard chain. So I just use it to kind of fill out the spectrum. So when you listen, so the low notes on their own sound like this. You can see here that we're modulating the auto pan, so the rate of the auto pan. So just alternating between the octaves, and really easy to do that. I actually just kind of chuck down some random automation points, listen through it in the context of the song, and just adjust it where necessary. But to be honest, because this is so random and you don't want it to be kind of too conformative, because you want it to have that that kind of unique effect, it doesn't really matter that much, which is probably why I like it as a way to do an effect. So in the context of the song, if you try and listen out for that. It's really prevalent there, but obviously the listener has kind of been warmed up by this point. So anything else other than kind of just your standard risers and all of these have just either come from a pack or they're just exported with a load of reverb and then reversed. So a little tip for these, if you're wanted to make a nice big fat sounding drop, this is just the same sample but reversed, but in order to give it more impact, if you cut away like quite a lot of the major impacts, it sounds so much better. So without, it would sound like this. It's not really giving you anything, but then here it's just got much more impact. And then the intro is just something that I really did just chuck this together just so that I could start thinking about what the intro could sound like. Let's just take a listen to that. So it's just the drum beat with all the shuffle removed and a low pass filter, at low and a high pass filter. So you can see here just the automation there, and this is being gradually raised throughout the build up, as is the reverb. And then we've also got these, I really like those kind of ambient sound effects. And you can find all of them on Splice. So this, just a couple of different static effects and ambience backgrounds layered one on top of each other. This one is gonna have one of my faves. Oops. This is gonna have that really nice auto pan effect. And they've got some reverb on them as well. I actually added all these individually, otherwise I probably just would have reverbed and EQ'd them all together. And that pretty much covers it. So it is a very simple song. I just wanted to put this video together because it's the tune that I'm actively working on at the moment. There is still quite a long way to go, but obviously, you know, there's a huge difference between a producer showing you kind of like the finished version of a song compared to when it's in its mid state as it is now. I mean, if we just look at the look at the master channel here, it's peaking quite a lot. So there's still a lot to clean up. You know, I'm probably going to do some more with the drums. I'm probably going to make the mid-bass group sound a little bit more interesting. But one of the hardest things that I found when I started making drum and bass is I don't really have anywhere to turn. I know there's a lot more production videos these days, but I found that when I first started producing, I didn't really have anywhere to turn, and I would listen to a drum and bass song and be like, you know, how the hell did they get to that point? But then when you break it down and show the evolution of a track, you know, that's how I learned to make it. So hopefully you guys have found some useful stuff in today's lesson. Of course, if you haven't already, please do make sure to like, comment and subscribe. It really does help my channel to grow. Any questions that you've got, leave them in the comments and I'll make sure to answer them. Have a great day. Bye bye.